Hello, fight fans. Thanks for joining us at MMA Insider. Before we get rolling with today's news, show some love by hitting that like button and subscribing. Now let's uncover the latest happenings in MMA. Starting off, Joe Rogan reacts to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Moving on, Dana White discusses a potential Alex Pereira versus Jon Jones super fight. Next, Daniel Cormier scoffs at Khamzat Chimaev's title shot demands. Moving on, Conor McGregor is eyeing a December return to the UFC octagon. Lastly, Dustin acknowledges 7 men as potential opponents for his next fight. UFC commentator Joe Rogan has publicly weighed in on the recent attempted assassination of former US President Donald Trump. 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks shot Trump at a recent 2024 campaign rally in Butler. He shot Trump in his right ear before the US Secret Service eliminated the gunman and escorted the former president from the scene. Just hours after the shooting, Trump spoke with UFC CEO Dana White on the phone. Rogan, the most prolific modern-day podcaster and longtime UFC analyst, has spoken out on the near assassination of Trump. Here is what he said. Speaking of which, how about that president? How about that Trump fella? How crazy is this? If there's ever been a real indication that we're in a simulation, this season of USA is the craziest season that's ever existed. There's so many twists and turns, so many plots, so many villains, so many incompetent, bumbling fools, it seems like a script. Pumps his fist in the air and says, "Fight, fight, fight." The Trump story is right out of a movie, and I'm hoping it's not a Stephen King movie. There's so much of it that seems fake. The female Secret Service agent that can't holster her weapon, moving around all erratically, it looks like an actress. It looks like if you're going to have a bumbling person in a movie, almost like a comedy of errors about an assassination attempt on the president. Trump is a longtime supporter of the UFC, stemming from the promotion's early struggles for relevance. He most recently attended UFC 302 in Newark and sat cage-side with White. UFC President Dana White has revealed that Alex Pereira versus Jon Jones could be a possibility in the future. Right now, Alex Pereira is riding high as the UFC light heavyweight champion. He's also a former middleweight champion, and as you can imagine, there's been a lot of talk about him jumping up to heavyweight. If he was to win a title in the division, that would make him the first 3-weight world champion in UFC history. Of course, right now, Jon Jones is the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion. He's been inactive since winning the belt due to injury, but at some point later this year, he's expected to return. As talk of a potential Jones versus Pereira super fight continues, Dana White was asked about the matter during a recent podcast appearance. Here's what he said. "It's a possibility. Joe Rogan has been pushing me right now to try to make that fight. It's just, guys, let me explain something to you. Jon Jones is a whole other level. I consider Jon Jones the greatest combat fighter of all time. When you talk about the Muhammad Alis and the this and the that, let me tell you what, I got Ali's picture hung everywhere. I love Muhammad Ali, I love Mike Tyson. Jon Jones is the nastiest dude ever in history. Hopefully this fantasy becomes a reality in the future. What do you believe would happen if Alex Pereira and Jon Jones locked horns inside the octagon? Do you think it's a feasible possibility at some point in the next few years? Share your thoughts and comments. Dana White discusses a potential Alex Pereira versus Jon Jones super fight. Given their different fighting styles, martial arts backgrounds, and career accomplishments, what are the key factors that could shape the dynamics of this matchup? Share your thoughts and comments. UFC Hall of Famer Daniel Cormier feels that Khamzat Chimaev's recent title shot demands are misguided ahead of his return. Chimaev recently confirmed plans to return at UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi in October. He hasn't fought since a middleweight win over former UFC welterweight champion Kamaru Usman at UFC 294 last year. He was supposed to face former UFC middleweight champion Robert Whittaker last month before withdrawing due to an illness. In light of his return plans, Chimaev recently claimed that he wants to fight for the middleweight title in his comeback fight. Cormier is bewildered by the undefeated star's demands. Here is what he said. "I don't understand why Khamzat would say I want a title fight. What happened to the Robert Whittaker fight? Robert Whittaker said he'll be ready to weigh in August to fight if Israel Adesanya or Dricus can't fight. If he weighs in and he's healthy and ready just in case, why not rematch those two guys up? Fight Robert Whittaker. To me, it feels like Khamzat will need one more fight to earn that middleweight championship opportunity. Chimaev is 7-0 in the UFC octagon with recent wins over Kevin Holland and Gilbert Burns. Despite his dominant run, he's lacked activity in recent years due to various health issues. If Chimaev wants to fight for the middleweight title, Cormier feels he needs at least one more signature win to warrant the opportunity. Conor McGregor was set to make his grand return last month in the main event of UFC 303 in Las Vegas against Michael Chandler, but the Irishman suffered a broken left pinky toe in one of his final sparring sessions before he was due to jet out to Sin City, and the fight was scrapped. McGregor, 36, initially earmarked late August or early September for his rescheduled return, but McGregor admits he likes the idea of topping the bill of UFC 310, which is slated to take place on December 14th. Talking to the media, here's what he said. "That sounds good to me. That sounds good to me, brother." McGregor hasn't set foot inside the octagon since breaking his left leg in his trilogy fight with Dustin 3 years ago. Chael Sonnen is detailing the mistake the UFC made in negotiating a Khabib comeback. Khabib took to Instagram with a statement regarding his retirement decision. "Dana White, thank you so much, brother, and the entire UFC team for the opportunity to prove myself. You guys have changed many lives forever because of this sport. Dana, I'll never forget your attitude towards me. My father did not forget, and my sons will remember you. Also, thank you to all team, sparring partners, and all fans. I hope you will accept my decision and understand me." It was during a recent YouTube video that Chael Sonnen suggested had the UFC taken a different approach, we may have seen Khabib Nurmagomedov back in the octagon for his 30th bout. Here's what he said: "I have maintained for you that when those negotiations were going on and they were attempting to change numbers, they were changing the wrong number. The same reason that 30-0 became 29-0. It wasn't commas and zeros, it was weight class. If they would have had one more, sat him down, and really negotiated and made it 170 pounds, you would have seen Khabib fight, or at least you'd have been a lot more likely." Dustin Poirier is acknowledging 7 men as potential opponents for his next fight. The former interim UFC lightweight champion Dustin, at 35, is looking to fight again and has a rather lengthy list of potential opponents. Dustin last fought and was defeated by Islam Makhachev this past June at UFC 302. Poirier has 3 wins and 3 losses in his last 6 fights in the octagon. It was during a recent appearance on the Anik and Florian podcast that Dustin discussed talk of his retirement and the potential of his next fight in the octagon. "After the Islam fight, when I got back home, I thought, like, maybe this is it. And then a few weeks went by, injuries started hurting less and less post-fight, and I was like, I gotta do this again. I've never lost 2 in a row. I can't leave this sport on a loss. But at the same time, I want to be 100% in it if I'm gonna do it again, because I don't want to disrespect the sport." It was Jon and Nick who presented Dustin with a list of potential opponents, which included Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor, Alexander Volkanovski, Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira, and Colby Covington, to which Dustin responded, 100%. "Yeah, for sure. If I do fight again, and when I do fight again, it'll be definitely one of those guys you just said." Dustin already has a history with McGregor, Gaethje, Holloway, and Oliveira. Dustin trained with Covington and had a missed bout with Diaz. The only fighter he hasn't had contact with is former UFC featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski. Who would you like to see Dustin Poirier fight upon his return to the octagon? Share your thoughts in comments. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Your dedication and support fuel our passion to bring you the latest and greatest in the MMA world. If you enjoyed today's news, please give us a thumbs up and share it with fellow MMA fans. Remember to subscribe to stay in the loop with daily MMA updates. We've got a lot of exciting news, interviews, and analysis coming your way every single day. Your engagement helps us grow and serve the MMA community even better. Once again, thank you for being an integral part of our daily MMA journey.